Hello everyone, welcome to my educational channel. Today I am come back with another topic of Indian polity, making of the constitution. Demand for a constituent assembly. It was in 1934 that the idea of constituent assembly for India was put forward for the first time by M.N. Roy, a pioneer of communist movement in India. In 1935, the Indian National Congress for the first time officially demanded a constituent assembly to frame the Constitution of India. In 1938, Jawaharlal Nehru, on behalf of the Indian National Congress, declared that the Constitution of Free India must be framed without outside interference by a constituent assembly elected on the basis of adult franchise. The demand was finally accepted in principle by the British government in what is known as the August Offer of 1940. In 1942, Sir Stafford Cripps, a member of the cabinet, came to India with a draft proposal of the British government on the framing of an independent constitution to be adopted after the World War II. The Cripps proposals were rejected by the Muslim League, which wanted India to be divided into two autonomous states with two separate constituent assemblies. Finally, a cabinet mission was sent to India. While it rejected the idea of two constituent assemblies, it put forth a scheme for the Constituent Assembly which more or less satisfied the Muslim League. Composition of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly was constituted in November 1946 under the scheme formulated by the Cabinet Mission Plan. The feature of the scheme were the total strength of the Constituent Assembly was to be 389. Of these, 296 seats were be allotted to British India and 93 seats to the princely states. Out of 296 seats allotted to the British India, 292 members were to be drawn from the 11 governors provinces and 4 from the 4 chief commissioners provinces from each. Each province and princely state were to be allotted seats in proportion to their respective population. Roughly one seat was to be allotted for every million population. Seats allotted to each British province were to be divided among the three principal communities: Muslims, Sikhs, and General, all except Muslim and Sikhs, in proportion to their population. The representatives of each community were to be elected by members of that community in provincial legislative assembly, and voting was to be by the method of proportional representation of by means of single transferable vote. The representatives of princely states were to be nominated by the heads of princely states. It is thus clear that the Constituent Assembly was to be partly elected and partly nominated body. Moreover, the members were to be indirectly elected by the member of provincial assemblies who themselves were elected on a limited franchise. The election to the Constituent Assembly for 296 seats allotted to British Indian provinces were held in July-August 1946. The Indian National Conference won 208 seats, the Muslim League 73 seats, and the small groups and independents got the remaining 15 seats. However, the 93 seats allotted to the princely states were not filled as they decided to stay away from the Constituent Assembly. Although the Constituent Assembly was not directly elected by the people of India on the basis of adult franchise, the Assembly comprised representatives of all sections of Indian society: Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Parsis, Anglo-Indians, Indian Christians, SC, STs, including women of all these sections. The assembly included all important personalities of India at that time, with the exception of Mahatma Gandhi, working of the Constituent Assembly. The Constituent Assembly held its first meeting on December 9, 1946. The Muslim League boycotted the meeting and insisted on a separate state of Pakistan. The meeting was thus attended by only 11 members. Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, the oldest member, was elected as the temporary president of the assembly, following the French practice. Later, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was elected as the president of the assembly. Similarly, both H.C. Mukherjee and V.T. Krishnachari were elected as the vice president of the assembly. In other words, the assembly has two vice presidents. Objective resolution. On December 13, 1946, Jawaharlal Nehru moved the historical objective resolution in the assembly. It laid down the fundamentals and philosophy of the constitutional structure. It read, "This Constituent Assembly declares its firm and solemn resolve to proclaim India as an independent sovereign republic and to draw up for the future governance a constitution wherein the territories that now comprise British India, the territories that now form the Indian states, and such other parts of India as are outside India, and the states for well and other territories as belonging to be constituted into the independent sovereign India shall be united of them all, and wherein the said territories, whether with their present boundary or with such others as many be determined by the Constituent Assembly and thereafter according to the law of the Constitution, shall possess and retain the status of autonomous unit together with residuary power and exercise all powers and functions of government and administration, save and except such power and functions as are vested in or assigned to union or as are inherent or implied in the union or resulting therefrom are, wherein all power and authority of sovereign independent India, its constituent parts and organ of government are derived from the people, are wherein shall be granted and secured to all the people of India justice, social, economic, and political equality of status of opportunity and before the law. Freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship, vocation uh, as association and action subject to law and public morality, wherein adequate safeguards shall be provided for minorities, backward and tribal area, and depressed and other backward classes, wherein shall be maintained the integrity of the territory of the republic and its sovereign rights on land, sea, and air according to justice and the law of civilized nations. The ancient land attained its rightful and honored place in the world and makes it full and willing contribution of the promotion of world peace and the welfare of mankind. The resolution was unanimously adopted by the Assembly of January 22, 1947. It influenced the eventual shaping of the Constitution through all its subsequent stages. Its modified version formed the preamble of the present Constitution. Next, changes by the Independent Act. The representative of the princely states who had strayed away from the Constituent Assembly gradually joined it on April 28, 1947. Representatives of the six states were part of the assembly after the acceptance of Mountbatten Plan of June 3, 1947 for a partition of the country. The representatives of most of the other princely states took their seats in the assembly. The member of the Muslim League from the Indian Dominion also entered in the assembly. The Indian Independence Act of 1947 made the following three changes in the position of the assembly. Let's discuss the position of the assembly. The assembly was made a fully sovereign body which could frame any constitution it pleased. The act empowered the assembly to abrogate or alter any law made by the British Parliament in relation to India. The assembly also became a legislative body. In other words, two separate functions were assigned to the assembly, that is making of a constitution for free India and enacted ordinary law of the country. These two tasks were to be performed separately. Thus, the assembly became the first parliament of free India, where whenever the assembly met as the constituent body, it was declared by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and when it met as the legislative body, it was chaired by G.V. Mavlankar. These two functions constituted till November 26, 1949, when the task of making of the constitution was over. The Muslim League member hailing from the area included in the Pakistan withdrew from the Constituent Assembly for India. Subsequently, the total strength of assembly came down to 299 as against 389 originally fixed in 1946 under the Cabinet Mission Plan. The strength of Indian provinces, formerly British provinces, were reduced from 296 to 229, and those of the princely state from 93 to 70. The state-wise membership of the assembly as on December 31, 1947 is shown in the table at the end of the chapter. Thanks for watching. In next video I am come back with another part of this lecture, making of Indian Constitution. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe my YouTube channel for watching more videos.